Hey gang, Troy Dean here from WP Elevation, and in this video you're going to learn how to build a prototype of a landing page in less than 15 minutes using WordPress and the Elementor plugin. Now I just want to talk a little bit about prototypes. Prototypes are a great way to get your client in the browser and to engage with the project and keep a project on track. We get many questions in our private Facebook group from members who are struggling to get content from clients or to get clients to pay their invoices throughout the project. And I think one of the challenges that we have is trying to communicate to our clients in the written word what it is we're doing visually, and that's why functional specification documents and proposals are really tricky. So I like to get in the browser as quickly as possible, and that's where prototypes are really powerful. So come into the WPE studio now and I'll show you how to build a prototype of a landing page in less than 15 minutes using WordPress and the Elementor plugin. Okay, before we get started, let's actually look at what a prototype of a landing page looks like, and this will give you an idea of the finished product. Here is a prototype. You'll notice there are not many design elements on this page. We have some placeholder images, and it's basically a black and white outline of what the landing page, how the landing page will feel once we've got it in the browser. A couple of choices that I've made deliberately. The stock images are placeholder images, they're not stock images. I don't want to confuse the client with images of people in cafes or computers or technology, because that's just one thing that will confuse them at this stage of the process. So I'm just using a placeholder image instead of stock images. The same with testimonials. I'm just using placeholder avatars instead of pictures, and everything is black and white. So this is the prototype that we're going to build, and I'll show you how I did this in less than 15 minutes using Elementor. But before we dive in, I want to talk about the elements to include on a landing page, and courtesy of our friends over at Kissmetrics, they put together a great blog post a few years ago, which I still reference today. It's called The Anatomy of a Perfect Landing Page. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so here is the anatomy of a perfect landing page, courtesy of our friends over at Kissmetrics. And you'll notice the first thing we have here at the top left is a logo, which is brand familiarity, and it tells the web user that they're in the right place. Then we have a nice big looking headline that should be filled with benefits to get their attention and to capture their attention and to get them reading the rest of the page so that they take the action that we want them to take. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Directly below that headline, we should have a secondary headline which further piques their interest in the offer that we're making. And we can then also include a short paragraph that gives some more information about what it is we're offering. Then we can have a bullet point list of some of the other benefits, and then a nice big strong call to action, which effectively is the button that you want them to click. And that button can have them join the fundraising campaign, buy the ebook, download the free report, whatever it is. To the left there, we have an image or a video, which is a great opportunity for us to visually explain what it is we're doing, and then some testimonials below and some more information to add some social proof and some credibility to the offer. The only other thing that I would add below the fold is a footer with the company name and copyright and probably a privacy policy. Before we dive into how to build the prototype for this, I want to talk a little bit about the structure of the landing page and some of the psychology included. There's a very common framework used in marketing circles called the AIDA framework, which is attention, interest, desire, and action. So the headline is designed to get their attention. The image and the next headline and the bullet list of benefits is designed to pique their interest and to keep them engaged and to increase their desire for the offer. And then the button is the action that we want them to take. And these landing pages are super focused on getting our web visitor to take one very specific action. So attention, interest, desire, action. Keep that framework in mind when you're planning your landing pages. Okay, so using this blueprint from Kissmetrics, let's dive into WordPress and build a prototype of a landing page using Elementor. All right, so here we are. We've got a vanilla install of WordPress set up on our local machine. We're just developing this locally using desktop server. So we're not relying on an internet connection here. We're just developing it on a local environment on my laptop. And this is a plain installation of WordPress, and the only two plugins that I have installed. If I go to the installed plugins page, you'll see the only two plugins that are activated are the Elementor Page Builder, which is a free plugin you can get at the WordPress plugin repository, and the Elementor Pro add-on, which is a paid add-on, which adds some extra functionality and elements to the Elementor Page Builder. So now if I come over to my Pages menu and click Add New and add a new page to my website and call it Landing Page, and the first thing I want to do is put this page on the Elementor Canvas template, which will give me a blank canvas to start building my page. It will remove the header, remove the footer and the sidebar and any of that WordPress stuff, and just give me a blank page that I can start with. I'm then going to click the Publish button, and once the page is published, I'm then going to edit the page with Elementor. All right, now I have my Elementor Page Builder open, and you'll see on the left-hand side here, I have my library of elements or widgets that I can literally drag and drop onto my page. So if I reference my anatomy of a perfect landing page here from Kissmetrics, you'll see the first thing I need to do is add a logo to the top left of the page. So back in Elementor, I literally just grab my image element and drag it onto the page, and then I click the Choose Your Image button here in the Properties Inspector, and I can choose an image that I've prepared earlier. This is a placeholder of a logo, and I can insert that media onto the page. I'm going to left align that image, and then back to my blueprint. You'll notice here the navigation links. They recommend not to include my menu and navigation links so as not to confuse the customer. I want my website visitor to take one very specific action on this landing page, which is to click the button. So I don't want to offer them any navigation menu items up in the top left. So I'm not going to include those navigation links. So the first thing I need to do is to add that divider underneath the logo. So back in Elementor, I click on the grid icon there, and that shows me all of the elements that I have in my library. And I'm going to choose my divider and drag that onto the page underneath the logo. And then I'm going to change the color. I'm going to, first of all, make it a dashed divider, and then I'm going to change the color to black, but about 30% transparency, just to make it a little bit more subtle. Excellent. Now back to the blueprint. The next thing is a nice big looking headline. So back to Elementor, I just grab my heading, drag it onto the page, and then I'm going to type in here a big bold headline with benefits to the customer to get the attention of the customer. And this is placeholder text that also reminds me what I'm supposed to type in here and the type of content that I'm supposed to get from my client and collaborate on with my client. So I'm not only adding a headline here, but I'm giving myself some clues so that in the future when I go to fill in this page, I know the purpose of this headline is to communicate the benefits to the customer and to get the attention of them so that they stay on the page. I'm going to make this an H1 in the Properties Inspector, and in the Style Inspector here, I'm going to make the text black because I don't want to confuse my client with any color choices right now. And I'm also going to edit the typography and make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it about 48 pixels. There we go, 48, beautiful. And that's all I need to do to make that headline nice like that. Then back to my blueprint, you'll notice I now have two columns. On the left, I have an image or a video, and on the right, I have a subhead, a paragraph, some bullet point benefits, and a button. So let's go and add that section to the page. All I need to do is go to my Elements library here, click on Columns, drag that onto the page, and by default, Elementor will give me a 2-column section. In the first column, I'm going to grab an image and drag an image from my Elements library into that first column. And again, click on the Choose Your Image button and choose an image that I've prepared earlier, which is my placeholder image. Again, not using any stock image, just using a plain placeholder because I don't want to confuse my client with any design choices right now. I just want them to approve the functionality and the purpose of the landing page. We can worry about photography and imagery later. In the right-hand column, I am going to add a subhead, a paragraph, a bullet point of benefits, and my button. So I grab my heading from my library, drag it into the second column here. And again, I'm going to give myself some clues as to what this subheading should do in the future. Add a subheading to keep their interest. So this should again further explain the offer that we're making and keep their interest. I'm going to make it an H2. I'm going to leave it as an H2 heading, and I'm going to change it again to black. Very good. I'm not worrying about fonts or typography right now. I'm going to grab my text editor and drag it in, and I'm going to add a short paragraph here that continues to pique their interest and to increase their desire for the offer we're making. So again, I'm just adding a short paragraph here to show my client what a short paragraph looks like on the page, but I'm also telling myself and the client the purpose of this short paragraph here is to increase their desire for the offer we are making. We can also include a list of benefits like this. So when I show my client this page, it also, from a psychological point of view, it also makes sense the type of content we're going to be adding. So from my elements library, I'll scroll down and grab my icon list, and I'll add that to the page. And then my bullet point list here, I just click on each item and I can change the icon and the content. I'm going to make the icon the check mark for each of these bullet points. And I'm just going to add here, biggest benefit is the first thing that we want to include here. What is the biggest benefit, the biggest reason that they should engage with our offer and take action? Then I'm going to change this to the check mark icon. And then I'm going to add the second biggest benefit here. Oh, can't type properly. Here we go, second biggest benefit. And finally, the last item, I'll make that a check mark again, and there's a whole bunch of icons you can choose from here that come with Elementor out of the box. And this here is my third and final benefit. Now, the only thing I want to do from a stylistic point of view here is I want to add a little bit of spacing between each of those items. I'll turn that up to 10. And I also want to change the color of the icon to black because, again, I don't want to confuse my client with any design choices right now. I'm just proving functionality. This is like a proof of concept. It's not a finished product. And I'm just going to increase the text indent here to 10. And other than that, I'm pretty happy with that. So the only thing I need to do here is add a button underneath the list of benefits. And the button will be the button text I'm going to write here is call to action. And now this is really important because when we finally build this page out, the call to action could be a number of things. It could be join the fundraising campaign, download the ebook, download the free report, register for the event, buy the digital product. And the text on this button should explain to the user exactly what it is you want them to do. So it shouldn't say call to action or click me, it should say what it is you want them to do. I'm going to make this a medium-sized button, and again, I'm just going to change the background color to black so as not to confuse the client with any presumptuous design choices. Now, I'm also I want to add a bit of space above this button, but if I just increase the margin, by default, Elementor locks the margin and padding for top, bottom, left, and right all together. So if I add 30 pixels to the top, you can see that it adds 30 pixels to the rest of the margin. So what I want to do is I want to unlock or unlink those margin values and just add 30 pixels to the top margin, which is very simple, just clicking that little link icon there to unlink them. Okay, so according to my blueprint, I'm looking pretty good here. I just need to add this divider underneath this section, and the easiest way to do that is to hover over the pencil icon on this divider up the top and then click the duplicate icon and then just drag that duplicate divider underneath. I can just hold that down and drag it underneath where I want to place it. Beautiful. Does that automatically. And then I need to, back to my blueprint, I need to add another 2 columns here with a testimonial in each column. We can do that very simply in Elementor by going to our Elements library, clicking on columns, dragging it onto the screen. By default, it gives me 2 columns. And then if I click the plus sign in any cell or any column, it will automatically just load up the library of elements here for me to choose from. And I want to choose a testimonial carousel. Now, by default, Elementor provides a testimonial carousel with 3 slides in that testimonial carousel, so I can have 3 different testimonials that will slide through or fade through to add a bit of social proof. I only want 1 testimonial in each of these carousels, and I want to put 2 of them side by side, so a carousel side by side. So all I need to do is delete each of those second and third items from that carousel. So I've just got 1. I'm going to change the skin to bubble. I'm also going to change the layout to put the image on the left because that's the way I like my testimonials to look. And I'm going to left align the text. And then I just click on the item to change the content of that testimonial. And so here I just want to include some happy and positive words from a happy customer to add some social proof to the offer that we're making. So some positive words from a happy customer to add some social proof to the offer. If I can type properly, offer we are making. Awesome. The only other thing I want to do is add the avatar image, the placeholder avatar image, so my client can see that that will actually be a picture of a person. And I want to change that CEO to black rather than blue. And I do that in the style section of the properties inspector. And underneath the content tab, I just choose, under title, I just choose the text color and choose black. So you can see Elementor is very intuitive here. You literally click on what it is you want to change and then make your changes in the properties inspector. Here I'm going to mouse over the pencil icon, duplicate that testimonial and drag it to the right. And the only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to change Jane Doe and I'm going to call her John, I'm going to change John Doe to Jane Doe, I should say. Perfect. All right, looking good. As mentioned before, I'm going to add a footer, a new section here with a copyright symbol and the name of the company. So I just click on new section and Elementor asks me what type of column structure I want for my new section. I'm just choosing a single column and then I'm going to click the plus sign, and from my library of widgets I'm going to add a heading into that section and I'm just going to make that a paragraph. And I'm going to use the Alt key and the G, letter G, on my Mac keyboard to add the copyright sign. That's Alt and the letter G. 2018, Acme is the name of my pretend company. And I'm going to unbold that. And then I'm going to make that text white because I'm going to make the background of this section a little darker, which you'll see in a moment, and I'm also going to center that text. Now the background of this actual section, this footer, I'm going to make a grey color just so my client can see what it looks like with a dark footer. So I click on the edit section icon and go to style, and background type is color, and I'll choose black and I'll make it say 30% transparent. Now I just want to add some padding above the copyright symbol and the company name. Under the advanced icon, I can unlink my padding like we spoke about before, add some padding to the top and add some more padding to the bottom. And I think we're just about done. So I'll click on the update button, which will save my changes. And then I'm going to click on the preview changes icon to preview what my page looks like in the browser. So this is what it will look like on the front end. It's looking very neat. According to my blueprint, it's almost there. If you have a look at the blueprint, we've got all the elements in the right place. And as I said, this is just a prototype. I just want to add some white space above this logo. And I also just want to add some spacing between the columns here in this section. So very simply, I can come into the header section here where the logo is, click on the edit section icon under the advanced tab. Again, I just unlink the padding, add 20 pixels to the top of that. And then this column section here, click on the edit section icon, and under the column gap setting, I'm just going to make that, instead of default, I'm just going to make that extended, and that gives me a bit more white space around those columns. I click on the update button, and then when I view those changes in the browser, you can see I've got my white space at the top of the logo, and I've got a little bit more white space in between those columns. And it's looking awesome. I'm very happy with the way my prototype of this landing page is looking, and I'm very happy that I can go and present this to the client and show them, hey, this is what a landing page looks like. I've done all of that in less than 15 minutes. It's super quick. I haven't touched a line of code, which at this point in the process is awesome, because you need to be able to build these prototypes very quickly and show your client, hey, this is what we're thinking. Are we on the same page? Get them interacting with it in the browser. Of course, there's a whole bunch of other things you could do. You could make the button pop up a light box with an opt-in form or a checkout form. Your imagination really is the only thing holding you back from building a really complex prototype and showing your client what it is you're wanting to do before they give you the go-ahead to build out the finished product. The other great thing about prototypes is if you're working with a design team, either in-house or another agency, you can send this to your designer and say, hey, this is what I've promised the client. Can you have a look at their branding style guide and can you please design this to make it look awesome? And then you could just build it directly in Elementor or whatever tools you're using, build it directly into WordPress. So this is how you very rapidly build a prototype for a landing page using the Elementor plugin in WordPress. I hope you found this helpful. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the bell so you get notified when we publish new videos, and let us know what you'd like to learn next about running your WordPress consulting business and managing your client relationships. I look forward to hearing your feedback and seeing you in the next video. Until then, I'm Troy Dean. Go Elevate.